I am sitting in my penthouse office right now, looking down at the city lights below, thinking about the phone call I just had with my mom. Third time this week she has called, asking for money. I can still hear her voice sharp and demanding, like I owe her something beyond what I have already given. When I was a kid, we had nothing. My father left when I was 8, and my mom worked 2 jobs to keep me and my sister Diane fed. I remember those days clearly. Now I have made it. I built something from nothing. But here's the thing nobody tells you about success. When you finally make it, your family does not ask how you are doing. They ask how much you can give them. Today, for the first time in my life, I said no. Before I continue with what happened after I said that word, let me ask you something. Where are you watching this from? Drop your location in the comments. Hit that like button and subscribe if you want to hear how standing up for yourself can change everything. Because what came next turned my entire world upside down. I grew up in a trailer park outside Cincinnati, Ohio. The kind of place where rust covered everything and hope felt like a luxury we could not afford. My father walked out when I was 8 years old, leaving my mom, Linda, with 2 kids and a mountain of debt that seemed impossible to climb. I remember the night he left. No explanation, no goodbye, just an empty closet and the sound of my mom crying in the bathroom, trying to muffle her sobs so Diane and I would not hear. My mom became a machine after that. She worked the morning shift at a laundromat, breathing in bleach and detergent for 8 hours, then clocked in at the supermarket as a cashier until midnight. Diane was 3 years younger than me, always asking why we could not have new toys like the other kids. I wore hand-me-downs from the donation bin at church. Kids at school noticed. They made sure I knew I was different, poor, less than. But my mom would always tell us the same thing when we complained. We may not have much, but we have each other. I believed her then. I held on to those words like a lifeline. I decided early that I would get us out. I studied hard, stayed after school in the library because it was warmer than our trailer in winter. Math and science became my escape. My teachers noticed. By the time I was a senior in high school, I had a 4.0 grade average and a chip on my shoulder the size of Ohio. I applied to Ohio State University for computer science, and somehow, miraculously, I got a full scholarship. The day the letter came, my mom cried so hard she could barely breathe. She held me tight and told me I was going to do great things. Diane hugged me too, but I could see something in her eyes even then. Something I did not want to name. Leaving for college felt like betrayal and freedom at the same time. Diane wanted to go to college too, but her grades were not good enough for scholarships. She ended up at community college living at home, and I could tell she resented me for getting out, but I could not let that stop me. At Ohio State, I worked 3 jobs. I waited tables at a campus restaurant, worked as a teaching assistant for the computer science department, and fixed laptops for students in my dorm. Every month, I sent money home. Not much, maybe $200, but it was something. I wanted my mom to know I had not forgotten where I came from. I met a professor named Dr. Harrison during my sophomore year. He saw something in me, I guess. He pushed me towards software development, told me I had a gift for problem solving. He became my mentor, the father figure I never had. By the time I graduated, I had job offers from 3 different companies. I chose a tech startup in Austin, Texas. It was the furthest I had ever been from home, and it felt like stepping into a different world. I was 23 years old, and for the first time in my life, I had a real salary, $35,000 a year. It felt like a fortune. I worked at that startup for 2 years, learning everything I could. Then I met Kyle, another developer, who had the same hunger I did. We would stay late, after everyone else left, talking about ideas about what we could build if we had the chance. One night, over cheap beer and cold pizza, we decided to do it. We would start our own company. We had an idea for AI-powered financial software that could help small businesses manage their cash flow. It was risky. It was terrifying. But we did it anyway. The first year was hell. We worked 16-hour days, lived in a tiny apartment that smelled like mildew, and ate instant noodles more times than I can count. But I still sent money home to my mom every month. Even when I could barely afford groceries, I made sure she got something. That is what family does right. You take care of each other. By the time I turned 32, our startup had grown. We had clients, revenue, and investors circling. Then one day, everything changed. A major corporation offered to buy us out for $47 million. My share after taxes was $23 million. I remember the moment I saw that number in my bank account. I sat in my car in the parking lot and cried. I thought about that 8-year-old kid in the trailer park wearing donated clothes, and I could not believe how far I had come. The first thing I did was call home. My mom answered, and I told her the news. She screamed so loud, I had to pull the phone away from my ear. For a moment, everything felt perfect. I had made it. I could finally take care of the people I loved. The first thing I did with the money was pay off my mom's debts. $85,000 in credit card bills, medical expenses, and an old car loan she had been drowning in for years. Gone. Just like that. Then I bought her a house. Not a mansion, but a real house in a decent neighborhood with a yard and 2 bathrooms. $320,000. When she got the keys, she cried and hugged me so tight I thought my ribs would crack. She kept saying thank you over and over, and I felt like I had finally done something right. This was what success was supposed to feel like, taking care of the people who took care of you. 2 weeks later, Diane called. She did not ask how I was doing or congratulate me on the business sale. She got straight to the point. Her boyfriend Brad had lost his job, and they needed $15,000 to cover rent and bills until he found something new. It was just a loan, she said. They would pay me back. I sent the money that same day. What else was I going to do? She was my sister. But something about the conversation bothered me. She had not asked. She had told me she needed it like it was my responsibility. A month later, Diane called again. Brad had a business opportunity, something about flipping cars, and they needed $10,000 to get started. The details were vague, but she assured me it was a sure thing. I sent the money. I told myself I was helping my sister build a better life, but deep down a small voice whispered that something was wrong. I ignored it. Then my mom called. She needed a new car. The old one I had helped her buy years ago was not good enough anymore. It did not match the house, she said. People in the neighborhood drove nice cars, and she felt embarrassed pulling into her driveway in a 10-year-old sedan. She wanted a Lexus SUV, $65,000. I bought it for her. I did not even argue. But when I hung up the phone, I felt hollow. Nobody had asked me if I could afford it. Nobody had asked if I was okay, if the stress of sudden wealth was overwhelming, if I needed anything. They just asked what I could give them. Diane called again a few months later. She wanted me to rent her an apartment. Living in the trailer park was damaging her mental health, she said. She needed a fresh start. I found her a place in Columbus, a nice 1-bedroom apartment for $2,800 a month. I paid the deposit and the first 6 months up front. She moved in without a thank you call. I found out she posted pictures on social media showing off her new place, tagging it as a blessing. She did not mention who paid for it. Then my mom called angry. Why had I rented an apartment for Diane and not for her? Did I love my sister more? Had I forgotten everything my mom sacrificed? I tried to explain that I had just bought her a house, but she did not want to hear it. She wanted what Diane had. She wanted more. I felt trapped. No matter what I gave, it was never enough. That is when the extended family started appearing. My Uncle Gary, who I had not heard from in 15 years, suddenly called. He needed $50,000 to save his house from foreclosure. He said it like I owed him, like my success was somehow his right to share. I said no. It was the first time I had refused anyone, and it felt like jumping off a cliff. An hour later, my mom called furious. How could I let family lose their home? How could I be so selfish? I tried to explain that I had already given away over $500,000, but she did not care. In her mind, I was rich, and rich people were supposed to take care of everyone. Over the next 18 months, I gave my family more than $600,000. I paid for cars, rent bills, vacations, and business ideas that never went anywhere. And in all that time, not one person asked me how I was doing. Not one person remembered my birthday. They only called when they needed something. I started to dread seeing their names on my phone. Every call was a demand. Every conversation ended with a dollar amount. Diane quit her job. She told me she did not need to work anymore because I was rich. Brad started driving a Porsche and posting pictures on Instagram, flexing like he had earned it himself. I saw those posts and felt sick. That was my money he was wasting.